Hello, everyone. I am Barbara Portales, and today we will have Emily Alvarez on our podcast, and she will be talking about her film called The Swap.
Hey guys, yeah, it's Emily, and today I will be talking about the production, and I also will be answering the second CCR question, which is how does your product engage with audiences, and how would it be distributed in a real media text?
The first question is, how do your products engage with audiences?
Alright, so our movie engages with audiences because the characters are very relatable. So, for example, one of the siblings in our production, her name is Emily, and she is seen as she's like the smart sibling, but she's also the one that struggles with a lot of friendships, and she has a hard time making friends, has a pretty bad social life. And the other character, Barbara, she is like the popular sibling, but she also just struggles academically. And so I feel like the characters are very realistic and relatable to teenagers, especially like nowadays in school. A lot of people compare themselves, especially siblings. They seem to compare themselves because like one sibling is more intelligent and the other one is more like social. And so yeah, so we made sure to keep the interactions very natural and to seem more realistic, and to keep the audiences interested in what's happening. And when the audiences can recognize these types of situations, and realize like they can relate to them and they're similar to what happens in their own lives, they feel more connected and engage with the story.
The second question is, what keeps the audience's attention while watching?
Well, I mean, the audience's attention is mainly like driven from the characters, I feel, because obviously, like, if the characters are boring or like not relatable, then people might feel like there's no point in watching it. But I feel like we did a really good job in ensuring that the characters make sense.
The second question is, what keeps the audience's attention while watching?
All right, so for the most part, the audience's attention is mainly driven by the characters that we have in the film, because the characters are not really boring characters. There's actually they have internal problems, and so that makes the audience really interested in what's happening. But I also feel like the speed and the pace that's of the film, it keeps the audience watching because it's not something like slow, and it's not something that gets you bored at the beginning. I feel like it's really sudden with it, so like you're not gonna get bored. And also we use a lot of different types of shots in the film so that there is like a lot of variety and different pacing. We use wide shots, close-ups to show the emotions. We obviously, the wide shots and the medium shots, they really allowed you to see the interactions between the characters and what was happening. We also used obviously the close-up, like for the scene that we had with the grades, to show like the lack of academicness in one of our characters. And these choices just in general like helped us stay focused and understand what's happening in the film.
The next question is, how do these choices appeal to the target audience?
All right, so these choices appeal to the target audience because we have the age group of 15, 16, 17, 6, 7. If you watch the film, you'll be able to see that quote. That age group. And so obviously the teenagers are going to be more engaged because it's obviously more realistic and easy to follow. Also, the tone and the style of the product, it matches the age group, so it's more relatable, and that just allows for the audience to feel like they can enjoy the product, relate to it, be invested in the storyline, and maybe come back for more production.
The next question is, how would your product be distributed as a real media text?
All right, so if this were a real medium product, I feel like it would be distributed online, mainly through platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, but hopefully like it can make it to those film festivals, Netflix, like all those popular platforms, Hulu, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, like the list goes on. But these platforms are really popular within our age group because I mean, there's other platforms as well, like Facebook or like Tubi or whatever, but like no one obviously like at least within this age group, no one watches it. Not saying that we don't want other age groups watching the film, but like our target audience, that teenage age group, they're not gonna watch that film on Facebook. So yeah, so I think that YouTube would be like the primary source though.
The last question is, why is online distribution effective for your product?
All right, so online distribution allows for the audience to interact with the product, such as like making comments, giving feedback, because honestly, feedback really helps with the production because it allows us to improve on future films, maybe, you know, make it to those film festivals. But yeah, I just feel like it really, like, you know, like increasing the engagement, you know, putting it out there, like giving us reviews, even if they're negative, like I feel like, you know, we can improve. And if they're good, you know, like that gives us a motivation to keep on going. So yeah, I think that, you know, allowing for it to reach a wider audience, it really makes it feel like a real media text.
Thank you, Emily Alvarez, for coming on to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll
Bye.
see you next time.
See you next time.